People, the first 100 who will be employed or sponsored by ABSA, Investec, Netcare, Sasol, Unilever. More businesses are being asked to create new paid one-year positions for unemployed black youth over and above current employment levels. To discuss, we're joined by the CEO of the Youth Employment Service, yes, Dr. Tashmia Ismail-Saville. Thanks for being with us. So, this sounds wonderful, congratulations, but how do you get from 100 to 1 million or so? That is the number being bandied about.
Well, that's the work. That's the complexity of the Youth Employment Service, is we have to work on the demand side. We have a mismatch. We have a large number of young unemployed people, 5.9 million to be precise, last Stats SA count 2017. And if we look at the nature of the 5.9 million, they're largely what we call NEET, not in employment, training or education. The bulk of them don't have matric certificates. And so the work of the Youth Employment Service is actually to create those jobs. And we're trying to apply innovation, partnership models, really applying fourth industrial in a way that usually is seen to reduce jobs, but in our case we're trying to use it to open new categories of jobs.
There's already been a drive a few years ago, government saying we need to put young people in jobs, launching a subsidy, I think it's still there, the employment tax incentive, so you get money back for employing young people. If there's already a carrot there, how does this add to that or fit in where that hasn't worked?
So we're trying to use the employment tax incentive and drive uptake of this as one of the elements. The second is we are waiting on a gazette which will have an amendment to the codes of good practice that is hopefully out on Thursday, and that will reward or recognize companies that take on young people over and above current headcount. So there are plans afoot to make this worthwhile for business so that the cost is shared between government and business.
So that's government's role, to continue with those subsidies and support, but this is business-led, CEOs saying we want to be part of this.
It's business-led. So remember the Codes of Good Practice Amendment is brand new. So that is something unique to this program, which wasn't online before. Okay. And if you look at the monetary value that sits in the recognition, the BE recognition, it's substantial. It's a worthwhile recognition. It's a worthwhile program to do if you are compliant, if you are on the scorecard.
I thought it was good to mention some of the companies involved, because good for them for being here at the beginning. So the likes of Investec, Sasol, Unilever, are they going to take on these 100, or because there's also a leg where you sponsor young people to go and work at small and medium companies if they can't work in the big companies?
Yes. So what we wanted for the launch was not to have a talk shop. We wanted it to be authentic and show that what YES is about is actual delivery. We're very keen that we not have grand plans on paper and theoretical, but that we actually show evidence. So at our launch, the 100 youth, each of those companies committed to taking them on for year-long work experiences, but that's not the size of the target. The targets for the big companies are substantially more, and in the coming months, not just the companies you've mentioned, but others, Woolworths, First Rand, Exaro, have all committed to taking on larger numbers of youth. And as you rightly point out, one of our big strategies is SME placement. So, we have these structural issues in the South African economy. We don't have jobs in the places that unemployed youth are. So we have all sorts of issues around educational matches, distances to jobs. And what we're trying to do via this SMME strategy is create jobs closer to where young people are. So if Investec can't take 1,225 youth into its own building, they are using an external service provider, or they can use YES, to place youth that they will pay for into SMMEs. So we grow the black-owned SMME because they build capacity with labor.
So this is even in townships?
In townships, in rural areas. We've got some lovely projects. There's a company called AFGRI that's going to be doing hydroponic farming and fish farms up in Limpopo. We have plans around SABC, where young people are going to be placed into digital training to digitize the whole tourism experience.
The only leg I'm a little bit skeptical about is where you help them also to start small businesses. So if they can't be placed in a big company or a small company, you help get them going. I was listening to a CEO the other day saying he's wasted money giving young people cash to start new businesses. It does seem, and I'd like to know your opinion, that people need job experience in some sort of formal setting first.
So absolutely, you know, the structures around young people to support businesses need to be there. You can't just drop a person and expect them to flourish when they haven't had any of the business training or experience. So some of the micro enterprise jobs that we are considering actually have these young people locked into the value chain of a larger entity. So it's what we call inclusive business model design. So they will be acting as entrepreneurs, invoicing for pieces of work they do, but we will support them through that year with a salary as they find their feet. And we will also couple this. So it's not just giving cash out. We're going to couple this with training. We have plans to build hubs inside of communities where technical training can take place.
We've run out of time, but a quick message to businesses out there possibly waiting in the wings. Why should they put their money where their mouth has been? A business has been saying for a long time we want to get involved.
It's the bigger picture. It's the long-term picture. At 5.9 million, we have an unemployment rate that is considerably higher than Tunisia before the Arab Spring.
Sure.
If you don't have a thriving country and a healthy society, it's very difficult in the long run to have thriving business. So, big picture, we all have to put an all in.
Thank you so much for your time this evening. The CEO of the Youth Employment Service, Dr. Tashmia Ismail-Saville. Well, employment